stop what you are doing right now. What I am about to share with you took me 3 years to fully understand. 3 years of reading old texts. 3 years of studying human behavior. 3 years of watching patterns repeat themselves over and over again. And here is the thing. This is not about hating women. This is not about blaming anyone. This is about seeing clearly for the first time in your life. Niccolo Machiavelli wrote something in the 1500s that still haunts me today. He said, "Everyone sees what you appear to be. Few experience what you really are." Read that again. Everyone sees what you appear to be. Few experience what you really are. Brother, this applies to you. This applies to me. This applies to every single person you have ever dated or will ever date. We are all wearing masks. The question is whether you can see the mask or not. Now let me be very clear about something before we go any further. This video is not going to tell you that women are evil. That would be stupid. That would be lazy thinking. And lazy thinking is exactly what keeps men trapped. What this video will do is show you something far more useful. It will show you how human nature actually works. Not how we wish it worked. Not how movies tell us it works. How it actually works in the real world. Carl Jung said, "Until you make the unconscious conscious, it will direct your life, and you will call it fate." Most men walk through their dating lives completely unconscious. They react to everything. They understand nothing. They blame women for their confusion when the real problem is they never learn to see clearly. Today, that changes for you. Robert Greene, who wrote the 48 Laws of Power, put it this way. He said people are locked in their own worlds. They are unable to see things from the perspective of others. Few see what is actually happening. So what is actually happening? What is the secret that nobody talks about openly? Here it is. And I need you to really hear this. The secret is not that women manipulate men. Some do. Some men manipulate women too. Manipulation is a human thing, not a gender thing. The real secret is simpler and far more powerful. Most people, men and women, do not fully understand their own behavior. They act on instinct. They follow patterns they learned as children. They repeat cycles they are not even aware of. Sigmund Freud called this the unconscious mind. He said we are not masters of our own house. There are drives and patterns running beneath the surface that control far more of our behavior than we want to admit. This is the real dark psychology. Not evil schemes, not secret plots. Just humans running on autopilot, often hurting each other without meaning to. And when you understand this, everything changes. Now, why am I telling you this? Why does this matter for your dating life specifically? Because most dating advice treats symptoms instead of causes. It tells you what to text. It tells you when to call. It tells you how to act confident, even when you feel weak inside. That is like putting a bandage on a broken leg. It might look better for a moment, but the real problem is still there. Arthur Schopenhauer, the German philosopher, wrote something brutal but true. He said, "A man can do what he wants, but not want what he wants." What does this mean? It means your desires, your attractions, your obsessions, they were programmed into you by your childhood, by your experiences, by patterns you absorbed without choosing them. The woman you cannot stop thinking about? There is a reason she hooks you so deeply, and it probably has nothing to do with her being special. It has everything to do with patterns inside you that you never examined. This is what nobody wants to talk about. This is what keeps you stuck. So here is what we are going to do together in this video. I am going to walk you through the actual psychology of attraction and relationships, not the surface-level stuff, the deep patterns that run everything. I am going to show you why certain women seem to have power over you while others do not. And I promise you, the answer will surprise you. I am going to teach you how to see yourself clearly, maybe for the first time. Because you cannot change patterns you cannot see. And most importantly, I am going to give you real tools to become free. Not free from women. Free from your own unconscious programming that keeps you chasing, obsessing, and losing yourself. Machiavelli also wrote, "The one who adapts his policy to the times prospers, and likewise, the one whose policy clashes with the demands of the times does not." The times demand that you wake up. The times demand that you stop being controlled by patterns you do not understand. The times demand that you become conscious. Stay with me through this entire video. Take notes if you need to. This information will serve you for the rest of your life. Let us continue. Let me ask you something personal. Think about the last woman who made you feel crazy. The one you could not stop thinking about. The one who made you check your phone every 5 minutes. The one who had you analyzing every word she said, every text she sent, every look she gave you. Now think about a different woman. One who was kind to you, one who was consistent, one who showed up and treated you well every single time. Which one did you obsess over more? I already know the answer. We both do. Here is what most people get wrong about this. They think it means you are broken. They think it means you have bad taste. They think it means you need to just choose better. But Carl Jung understood something deeper. He said, "Where love rules, there is no will to power. And where power predominates, love is lacking." The women you obsess over are not the ones you love most. They are the ones who activate your deepest wounds. There is a huge difference. Sigmund Freud spent his entire career trying to understand why humans repeat painful patterns. Why do we keep choosing the same type of person? Why do we keep creating the same problems? Why do we keep hurting ourselves in familiar ways? His answer was simple but disturbing. We are trying to heal old wounds by recreating them. Think about that. Your unconscious mind finds people who feel familiar. Not familiar in a good way. Familiar in the way your earliest relationships felt. If love felt unstable when you were young, stable love will feel boring to you now. If you had to earn attention and approval as a child, you will chase people who make you earn it as an adult. If warmth was given and then taken away unpredictably, you will be drawn to people who do the same thing. This is not weakness. This is programming. And you cannot fight programming you do not understand. Now, here is where it gets interesting. And this is where the real dark psychology comes in. Robert Greene wrote in The Laws of Human Nature, "We are all self-absorbed and deeply insecure. We all crave attention and validation. Everyone, not just some people, everyone." This means the woman you are obsessing over, she has her own wounds, she has her own programming, she has her own unconscious patterns running her behavior. When she pulls away from you, she might not be playing a game. She might be following her own programming. Maybe closeness scared her as a child. Maybe she learned that vulnerability leads to pain. Maybe she is just as confused as you are. This does not excuse bad behavior, but it explains it. And explanation gives you power that blame never will. Nietzsche wrote, "He who fights with monsters should look to it that he himself does not become a monster." When you assume everyone is manipulating you, you become paranoid. You become bitter. You become the very thing you claim to hate. That path leads nowhere good. Here is a principle that changed my entire understanding of relationships. I call it the mirror principle, and it comes from Jung's work on projection. Jung said, "We project onto others what we cannot see in ourselves." The qualities that trigger you most strongly in other people are often qualities that exist within you, hidden in your shadow. What does this mean practically? If you are constantly attracted to unavailable people, ask yourself where you are unavailable. Maybe emotionally. Maybe in your commitment to your own growth. Maybe in your willingness to truly be seen. If you keep meeting people who seem to play games, ask yourself what games you play. Maybe you hide your true feelings. Maybe you pretend to be someone you are not. Maybe you manipulate without even realizing it. This is uncomfortable work. Most men will never do it. They would rather blame women for everything than look in the mirror honestly. But the men who do this work, they become free. Thomas Hobbes wrote that humans are driven by two main things: fear of death and desire for power. In relationships, this shows up as fear of rejection and desire for control. Most dating advice teaches you how to gain control over the other person, how to seem less interested than you are, how to make them chase you, how to win the power game. But Machiavelli understood something most people miss. He wrote, "The wise man does at once what the fool does finally." The wise man realizes that the power game itself is the trap. As long as you are playing for control over another person, you have already lost control over yourself. Real power is not making someone want you. Real power is being so grounded in yourself that their wanting or not wanting does not shake you. Real power is not winning the game. Real power is not needing to play at all. This is what the next section is about. How to build this unshakable foundation. How to become the man who cannot be controlled because he is no longer controlled by his own wounds and patterns. But first, you need to understand one more thing about why certain dynamics hook you so deeply. There is a neurological reason for your obsession, and it has nothing to do with love. Stay with me. Let me tell you about an experiment that explains everything. In the 1950s, a psychologist named B.F. Skinner put rats in boxes with levers. When the rats pressed the lever, they got food. Simple. But here is what got interesting. When the food came every single time, the rats pressed the lever, ate, and went about their day. Normal behavior. When the food never came, the rats eventually stopped pressing. Also normal. But when the food came randomly, sometimes yes, sometimes no, unpredictable, those rats went absolutely crazy. They pressed the lever obsessively. They could not stop. They became addicted to the uncertainty itself. Your brain works the same way. Robert Greene wrote, "The moment of victory is often the moment of greatest peril." He was talking about war and power. But this applies to your love life too. When someone gives you consistent attention, your brain adapts. It becomes normal, expected. Your dopamine system calms down. But when attention comes unpredictably, your brain lights up like a slot machine. This is not weakness. This is biology. Your brain evolved this way for survival reasons. Think about our ancestors. Unpredictable rewards demanded attention. If a fruit tree sometimes had food and sometimes did not, you needed to keep checking. Your survival depended on staying engaged with uncertainty. This programming served us well for thousands of years. But now it works against us. Sigmund Freud understood that our ancient drives often clash with modern life. He wrote, "The mind is like an iceberg. It floats with 1/7 of its bulk above water. The conscious part of you, the rational part, knows that chasing someone who treats you inconsistently is foolish. But the 6/7 below the surface? That part is running ancient programming that does not care about your dignity. That part just wants to solve the puzzle. Get the reward. Crack the code. This is why smart men do stupid things in relationships. Intelligence does not protect you from biology. Here is what happens in your brain when someone is inconsistent with you. When they give you attention and warmth, your brain releases dopamine. You feel amazing, on top of the world. This is the high. When they pull away, your dopamine crashes. But something else happens too. Your brain starts craving. It wants that feeling back. It becomes preoccupied with how to get the reward again. This is the same cycle that drives gambling addiction, drug addiction, social media addiction. The mechanism is identical. Arthur Schopenhauer wrote, "Wealth is like seawater. The more we drink, the thirstier we become." The same is true of inconsistent validation. The more you get those highs and lows, the more you crave them. The more you chase, the more you lose yourself. And here is the brutal part. This has nothing to do with love. Absolutely nothing. You can be completely addicted to someone you do not even like that much. You can be obsessed with someone who is objectively wrong for you. Because addiction does not require love. It only requires unpredictable rewards. Now, some content creators will tell you that women do this intentionally, that they strategically create this dynamic to control you. Some might. Manipulative people exist, both men and women. But here is what Machiavelli actually understood about human nature. He wrote, "Men judge generally more by the eye than by the hand, for everyone can see and few can feel." Most people act without full awareness of why. The woman who runs hot and cold might not be scheming. She might be running her own unconscious patterns. She might have her own attachment wounds. She might be just as confused as you are. Does this excuse the behavior? No. Does understanding it help you? Absolutely. Because when you stop assuming malice, you stop being paranoid. When you stop being paranoid, you think more clearly. When you think more clearly, you make better decisions. The goal is not to hate. The goal is to see. So here is the question that most men never ask themselves. Why does inconsistency hook me? Not why is she inconsistent. That is her issue to work on, or not. Why does it hook you specifically? Carl Jung said, "Knowing your own darkness is the best method for dealing with the darknesses of other people." If inconsistent attention creates obsession in you, that reveals something about you. Not something shameful, something useful. It might reveal that you did not get consistent love as a child. It might reveal that you tie your self-worth to external validation. It might reveal that you have not built a life meaningful enough to keep you grounded when someone else wavers. These are all things you can work on. These are all things within your control. Epictetus, the Stoic philosopher, taught this principle 2,000 years ago. He said, "Make the best use of what is in your power, and take the rest as it happens." Her behavior is not in your power. Your response to her behavior is completely in your power. The next segment is going to show you exactly how to build that power. How to become the man who cannot be shaken by uncertainty. How to recognize your own patterns and finally break free from them. This is where the real transformation begins. Everything changes now. We have talked about the patterns. We have talked about the neuroscience. We have talked about why uncertainty hooks you so deeply. Now we build something new. Marcus Aurelius ruled the entire Roman Empire. He had more power than almost any man in history. Yet he spent his nights writing private notes to himself about self-control and self-awareness. He wrote, "You have power over your mind, not outside events. Realize this, and you will find strength." This is the foundation. This is where we start. You cannot control whether someone is consistent or inconsistent with you. You cannot control their moods. You cannot control their interest level. You cannot control their wounds or their patterns or their choices. But you have complete control over one thing: your own mind. Most men give this power away freely. A woman goes cold, and their whole week is ruined. A text goes unanswered, and they cannot focus on anything else. Someone pulls away, and they abandon everything to chase. This is slavery. Comfortable slavery that feels like love, but slavery nonetheless. The first step to freedom is brutal self-honesty. You need to know your patterns, not her patterns, yours. Carl Jung developed a concept he called the shadow. The shadow is everything about yourself that you hide, deny, and refuse to look at. He said, "One does not become enlightened by imagining figures of light, but by making the darkness conscious." So let us make your darkness conscious right now. Ask yourself these questions honestly. Write the answers down if you need to. What kind of woman hooks you most deeply? Not what kind do you say you want. What kind actually gets under your skin and makes you obsess? What patterns repeat in your relationships? Do you always end up chasing? Do you lose yourself? Do you abandon your standards? Do you accept treatment you know is beneath you? What did love look like in your childhood? Was it stable or unstable? Conditional or unconditional? Predictable or chaotic? Freud believed our earliest relationships create templates for all future relationships. The woman who drives you crazy often resembles someone from your past. Not in appearance, in feeling, in dynamic, in the emotions she triggers. This is not comfortable work. But comfort has kept you stuck. Now we build. Nietzsche wrote, "He who has a why to live can bear almost any how." Most men have no why. They drift through life waiting for a woman to give them purpose and meaning. Then they wonder why they feel so desperate and needy in relationships. Your first task is to build a life that matters to you, independent of any relationship. This means real goals, not vague wishes, specific targets you are working toward every single day. This means real friendships, not just people you drink with, people who know you deeply and challenge you to grow. This means real growth, physical, mental, spiritual, financial, becoming better in measurable ways, not just hoping things improve. When you have this foundation, a woman's inconsistency becomes a small thing, not because you do not care, because you have other things that matter. Robert Greene wrote, "The truth is that creative activity is one that involves the entire self, our emotions, our levels of energy, our characters, and our minds. Pour yourself into creative activity, into building something, into becoming someone. This is not about distraction. This is about becoming so full that no single person's absence can empty you." Let me give you something practical now, a way to handle inconsistency when it happens. First, notice the urge. When she pulls away, and you feel that desperate need to fix it, chase her, or figure out what went wrong, just notice. Do not act yet. Just observe what is happening inside you. Epictetus taught, "It is not things that disturb us, but our judgments about things." The pull toward chasing is not truth. It is a feeling created by old programming. You can feel it without obeying it. Second, do nothing immediately. Not nothing forever. Nothing right now. Give yourself 24 hours before responding to any withdrawal. Let the emotional charge settle. Let your rational mind come back online. Most mistakes happen in the first hour after we feel triggered. Remove that hour from the equation entirely. Third, ask yourself one question. If I had 10 other options right now, how would I respond to this? This is not about lying to yourself. This is about accessing a different perspective. When you feel desperate, you act desperate. When you imagine abundance, you act from abundance. Machiavelli wrote, "Never was anything great achieved without danger. The danger here is losing her by not chasing. But that is only a danger if she was worth having. And someone who only stays when you chase desperately was never truly yours." Here is the final piece of the transformation. You must decide your standards in advance, not in the heat of the moment, before anything happens. What behavior is acceptable to you? What is not? Where is the line that cannot be crossed? Jordan Peterson talks often about the necessity of setting your house in order. He says, "You should be willing to stand up and fight for what you believe in." Most men have no standards. They say they do. But the moment an attractive woman crosses those standards, they make exceptions. They rationalize. They abandon what they claim to believe. This is weakness disguised as flexibility. Decide now. Write it down if you need to. Inconsistency past a certain point is not something you work through. It is something you walk away from. Not with anger, not with explanation, just with clarity that this does not meet your standard. Marcus Aurelius wrote, "Waste no more time arguing about what a good man should be. Be one. Do not announce your standards. Do not argue for them. Do not try to convince anyone. Just live them, quietly, consistently, without exception." This is how you become unshakable. Not by controlling others, by governing yourself completely. We are approaching the end now, and I need to leave you with something that will stick. Everything I have shared with you today points to one truth, one insight that separates men who suffer in relationships from men who thrive. Here it is. The goal is not to win. The goal is to see clearly. Most men approach dating like a game to be won. They want tactics. They want strategies. They want to figure out how to make her want them, how to gain the upper hand, how to never be the one who cares more. This is exhausting, and it never ends. Because even if you win one game, another begins immediately. Plato wrote something thousands of years ago that still rings true. He said, "The first and greatest victory is to conquer yourself." Not her. Yourself. When you conquer yourself, when you master your own patterns and reactions and wounds, the game stops mattering. You stop needing to win because you are no longer afraid to lose. This is freedom. Real freedom. Not the freedom to manipulate better than you are manipulated. The freedom to not need manipulation at all. Let me tell you what becomes possible when you do this work. When you are no longer hooked by inconsistency, something interesting happens. Inconsistent people stop being attractive to you. Not because you force it, because your nervous system changes. The chaos that once felt exciting starts feeling exhausting. The drama that once felt passionate starts feeling childish. The uncertainty that once created obsession starts feeling like a waste of your time. And you start noticing different people. People you might have overlooked before because they seemed boring, too easy, too available. Carl Jung wrote, "The meeting of two personalities is like the contact of two chemical substances. If there is any reaction, both are transformed." Real connection transforms both people. It does not leave one person anxious and chasing while the other holds all the power. It does not require games or strategies or careful calculations. Real connection feels like rest. Not the rest of boredom, the rest of safety. The deep rest of being truly seen by someone who is truly present. Most men have never experienced this because they keep chasing the wrong feeling. They think love should feel like excitement and anxiety and uncertainty. So they keep choosing people who provide exactly that. Here is something nobody tells you. When you become healthy, you attract healthy people. Not because of some mystical law of attraction, because of simple compatibility. Wounded people are attracted to wounded people. They recognize each other. They fit together in familiar, painful ways. But when you heal your patterns, wounded people stop fitting. The dynamic does not work anymore. You become boring to people who need chaos, and that is a good thing. Robert Greene wrote, "The key to power is the ability to judge who is best able to further your interests in all situations." In relationships, the person who furthers your interests is not the one who keeps you guessing. It is the one who shows up consistently, who communicates clearly, who wants the same things you want, and proves it through action. Schopenhauer was famously pessimistic about love. He thought it was mostly illusion and biological drive. But even he admitted that genuine companionship, real partnership, was one of the few things that could make life bearable. That partnership is available to you, but only when you stop being addicted to chaos and start being ready for peace. Let me leave you with wisdom from the masters we have discussed today. From Machiavelli, remember this: there is no avoiding war. It can only be postponed to the advantage of others. The war here is the war for your own mind. Fight it now. Do not postpone it. Every day you remain unconscious is a day lost. From Jung, remember this: who looks outside dreams, who looks inside awakens. Stop analyzing her behavior endlessly. Start examining your own patterns. That is where the answers live. From Marcus Aurelius, remember this: the happiness of your life depends upon the quality of your thoughts. Guard your mind. Do not let obsession and anxiety run wild. You have the power to direct your attention. Use it. From Nietzsche, remember this: he who cannot obey himself will be commanded. If you cannot command your own impulses, your own wounds, your own desperate need for validation, then others will command you. That is simply how it works. From Epictetus, remember this: no man is free who is not master of himself. Freedom is not doing whatever you feel like. Freedom is choosing your response rather than being controlled by reaction. These men understood human nature deeply. They saw the darkness and the light, and they all arrived at the same conclusion: mastery begins within. So here is where we end, and here is where you begin. You now understand what most men never will. You understand why uncertainty creates obsession. You understand that it is neurology, not love. You understand that your patterns were programmed into you and can be reprogrammed by you. You understand that the goal is not to win power games, but to become free from needing them. What will you do with this knowledge? Will you go back to sleep? Will you keep chasing people who trigger your wounds? Will you keep mistaking anxiety for attraction and chaos for passion? Or will you wake up? Will you do the hard work of examining yourself honestly? Will you build a life so meaningful that no single person can shake it? Will you set standards and hold them without exception? Machiavelli wrote, "All courses of action are risky, so prudence is not in avoiding danger, but calculating risk and acting decisively." The risk of changing is real. You might lose the woman you are currently obsessing over. You might have to face painful truths about yourself. You might have to rebuild your entire approach to relationships. But the risk of staying the same is greater. A lifetime of chasing, a lifetime of confusion, a lifetime of giving your power away to anyone who learned how to trigger your wounds. That is not a life. That is a prison. The door is open now. Walk through it. I am glad you stayed until the end. Most will not. Most will click away and learn nothing and repeat the same patterns forever. But you are different. You stayed. You listened. You are ready. Now go build something worthy of the man you are becoming. This is the shadow mind, and I will see you in the next one.